Alice has lived in New York's Chinatown her whole life.
I didn't have to leave Chinatown for much of anything.
While some of her cousins have moved out to work outside of the neighborhood, she decided to stay to help her parents run their tea shop.
Oh, too much. It's a very crazy choice. A lot of Asian Americans, they're like, your life could be so much easier. Why do you choose for your own life to be so hard? Because I love this place.
Chinese food, I think, should be considered up with French and Italian and Japanese.
For renowned chef Brandon Ju, opening his Michelin-starred restaurant in San Francisco's Chinatown was about celebrating Chinese American culture.
Some of what I've come to know about Chinatown, it takes some digging to really understand what has been here before. That restaurant over there, Can's, Johnny Can, he's truly a child of Chinese American cuisine. But you wouldn't know that.
With many Chinatowns still struggling to recover from the pandemic, a new generation is stepping up to protect and secure the future of the communities they know and love.
This whole new young generation of Asian Americans, we don't see the places where our families first came to the United States and first settled as pathways. So this is my family. We now see them as actually our ancestral homelands, right? The places where we first became who we were. There I am, sucking my thumb.
Author Curtis Chin knows what it's like for a city to lose its Chinatown. His family's restaurant, Chung's, closed in 2000 after 6 decades of operation. The building has sat empty for over 20 years. Curtis has never been back inside, until today.
Hello? I think when Chung's closed, I think that was the last straw for Detroit's Chinatown. I don't think there was a way back after that. It's smaller than I remember. This is the main dining room here, right? And the customers would walk in through there, off the corner, through our bright red door. The opening line of my book is, "Welcome to Chung's, is this for here to go?" It's a common phrase that you hear entering most restaurants, right, in Chinese restaurants, but I really wanted to add some meaning to it. Do I stay in Chinatown? Do I stay with my family's restaurant? Or do I go off to college? Do I come out of the closet? All these things that we struggle with in terms of our heritage, our family, our connection. What is our identity? I like to think that my family's restaurant was the center of Chinatown because it literally was physically the center. So this was the back kitchen where we made the egg rolls. Over the course of the 60 years, we sold over 10 million egg rolls. There's a big effort to sort of revitalize Chinatown. Detroit's going through a major regentrification period. It's finally getting to areas like Chinatown. There are lessons to be learned not just from the city, but also from our own community. I think that for our community, I think there wasn't a long-term vision. It was a lot of individual business people who were just more concerned with their own mom and pop stores. I think that if Detroit wants to come back, it needs to have a Chinatown. Detroit has a very, very small immigrant population, and I do feel like if my hometown wants to rebound, I think they should be making an appeal to bringing in these new communities who can bring that breath of fresh life to the city. I can see traces of my childhood here because obviously I remember everything, like where things were and like even just running around through here. But what I do see is I see potential. I am a Chinese restaurant kid. Even though I don't work in a Chinese restaurant anymore, I always feel like I'm still that Chinese waiter. I'm always going around asking people, "Oh, how can I help you? Can I get you something?" And so I feel like these values and these ideas that you grow up with at that young age really become a part of who you are. It's like your fabric.
Grand tea imports started in 2006 when my dad went back to China for the first time. He had left his hometown like maybe 20 years before, and so he kind of was very disconnected from family and friends and his life that he had back home. And so he used tea as a place to like have gatherings, kind of meet up with old friends. And so like through tea, he like kind of reconnected with home that way. The hope is for my sister and I to take over the business. I think what my family have done, as with most Chinese American businesses, is that they only thought of this business as a way of survival. It's never been seen as a wealth building tactic. And so we have to build in that wealth building capacity so that my sister and I and my parents, as they age, can continue to make money off of this so that we can survive, so that we can keep the store open. The younger generation plays a huge role in sustaining this neighborhood. I completely understand why a lot of Chinese Americans feel like they need to leave and join that white-collar workforce. You know, it's work, good money, you get to lift your family out of poverty, you get to find stability for yourself in the future. I don't fault them for making that choice, but because everyone made that choice, it felt like I was a lost soul for having not chosen that for myself. You definitely felt that pressure from aunts and uncles and relatives and friends, family friends, of like, my parents came to this country so hard and hustled and lived very, very frugally so that I could leave Chinatown because it was seen kind of as a slum. I never saw it that way. I hope that New York City's Chinatown will continue as an intergenerational community. We learn from the older generation, but then also continue to innovate it for our times. We are longtime residents who have that skin in the game, meaning that like, if our neighborhood becomes unsafe, we live in this neighborhood, so it'll become unsafe for us. My thoughts on gentrification is that it boils down to like that statement of, if you don't occupy your space and if you don't actively tell your narrative, someone's going to tell your narrative for you.
Do we need sunshine? It's always, there's like $1 in his hand just to sleep. Yeah, try this one. We got some of that like fear of gentrification, that this restaurant was part of that. I was kind of like, well, if a Chinese kid from San Francisco is opening a Chinese restaurant in Chinatown, if that is gentrification, like I don't know what like, tell me what part of that, you know, is gentrification. Because there is this fear of gentrification, I think there's, on the flip side of that, there's this like fear of this neighborhood being a museum and being empty storefronts. If that fear becomes something where you are not accepting any change or any evolution, is that better? We're in the oldest and really, I think, the largest Chinatown in America, in San Francisco. At Mr. Ju's, we received our Michelin our first year of operation, and we've maintained it ever since then. The way I take it on is like, well, this is only furthering like my responsibility to represent this cuisine. I've been trained more in Italian kitchens than in Chinese kitchens. I think at some point when I was cooking so much Italian food, I realized that I had a desire to find that lineage of recipes and dishes and understand that within my own family and then within my own like culture. Understanding like my relationship with Chinatown, I started to realize like this is also my relationship with understanding my own identity. What I came out of it feeling was like, wow, I'm really not Chinese, I'm Chinese American. I was just feeling like people were opening restaurants in other parts of San Francisco, but I just kept thinking about Chinatown as a place that, how do I actually have San Franciscans, like locals, be able to come to appreciate Chinatown?
No, Pinchy. Pinchy, you. Gotcha.
The next generation of operators in Chinatown, I think it is this mix. I think this should still be a neighborhood that is kind of showcasing multi-generations of Chinese immigration. And to me, just because we're a little further down, like I'm third generation and my son will be fourth generation, his relationship to Chinatown is going to be different than mine, and mine was different than my parents as my grandparents was.
Welcome to Chung's. Is this for here to go? Armed with a smile and a red waiter's jacket with a perpetual plum sauce stain. That's how my dad greeted any new face who entered the lobby of our popular Chinese restaurant in Detroit. If there is a divide of what it means to be Asian and what it means to be American, I think for us as Asian Americans, we are really creating this culture of being Asian American, which actually encompasses both in a very natural and organic way. It's something that we're living and breathing and defining as we grow up. The reason I want to advocate for Chinatowns is not to hold on to some past or to say, like, this is my neighborhood, you stay out, but because I feel like it's a vibrant force that's a potential economic and cultural engine for the city. So it's about moving forward, and if anybody wants to contribute to that, they should be able to. Oh, wow! Can you save this door for me? They should actually save this for the museum. Oh, God, yeah. This is kind of symbolic. It's like the exiting of my childhood. This may be the last time I'm ever in this space the way I will remember it, because once they redesign it, it won't be the same anymore.